Hmm. And good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. Welcome to Dreamy Dream Land with Sensei Bob. I am Sensei Bob, your griot, here to tell you a story. And don't believe a word I say. Everything I say is just for entertainment's sake. And we're in the midst of our series on the old crone. And the first series, I kind of described how I got into Ireland uh, through Marion Tulin's kindness and concern for me during the Vietnam War. She made sure I got into college, and that didn't take. And she got me into Juilliard, and that was cool, but it didn't take. And then I kind of hid in plain sight from my draft board. Anyway, long story short, around 1960, 1970, she got me a stay in the Irish National Theatre. I went to Dublin and went into the Irish National Theatre, and I knew nothing about the Celts or the Irish language or any of the above. So they said, so they sent me up to Trinity, and instead of being put into a specific college, I was made a graduate student. I hadn't even gone, I hadn't finished college yet. And so I was allowed to be in the what do they call it? The reference, the secured reference library, and that was where, you couldn't go in there and read those books unless you had you were on a list. And so I was just kind of reading Celtic, stuff. That's what I was there to learn about the Celtic religion, the Celtic culture, Celtic language, and I didn't have any particular person over me. I just was looking at books, and I kind of bumped into this guy named Archie who had been there forever, and he was Scottish, and he came from England, and his father was Earl, so he had a lot of money, and he had been studying this. He had this theory that human beings were just somebody's science experiment, that this isn't who we are. And if you look at every religion, all the teachings of Jesus and Buddha and Moses and David and the prophet Muhammad and Vishnu and you name it, and they basically all say the same thing, that there is this life force, right? And in Vedic tradition, they call it prana, and that is Father Sky, and we breathe in that prana. That's what gives us animation. And the thing that completes the circuit is Mother Earth, that we are connected. In Buddhism, or the Chinese call, and the Japanese call it um, chi, right? So that's a circuit. So we are an electrochemical device, right? And I had plenty of teachers, from my grandma from birth all the way until when I was 19 and 20, and I had some really amazing teachers who kind of taught me this. I was part of the Theosophical Society, U.S. Psychotronic Society. I had one of my mentors was a guy named Billy Kluver, who got a Nobel Prize for discovering one of the guys who discovered background radiation. He was Mr. Radar. He was at the RAD lab, and it wasn't the atomic bomb that won the war. It was radar, right? The discovery of that electromagnetic spectrum. And Tesla was, kind of defined and designed and that in the 1890s, 1880s, right? He perfected with his demonstration model of Warden Cliffs, which was in Shoreham, Long Island, right where they built a nuclear reactor in the 80s. That was so poorly built it couldn't open. And tomorrow, I'm going to show a whole bunch of photographs of a lot of the 1980s. and what was going on in the 1980s. And people think that, oh, today is like, oh, it's the worst it's ever been. No, sorry, not really. I'm old enough to remember the 50s, 60s. When I was in grammar school in 1950s, I had a great teacher who, he was truly, he was like Plato. And that's how he taught. He didn't teach by the book per se, but he taught by the individual. And I was very lucky to be in a school that um, the class size was no more than 30. Mostly it was like between 19 and 25. And he took us individually and looked at us as individuals and taught us individually. Even as a group, he taught us individually. And that's, you want to leave no child left behind. That's what you have to do. In the 1990s, I was part of a group that developed a protocol for public schools called the STAR program, where we basically took every student individually, and we went to the worst county in a state, to the worst neighborhood in that county, to the worst school, to the worst class, to the worst kid, and we plucked that kid and we put him over here, and we gave him individual um, mentorship, just like I had as a young child. I mean, I went to public school, but overall, between my grandma and all the people that she knew, and the folks who were in my uh, parents, my avatar parents' circulation, I got and then I got beat up in first grade by a nun. She broke the orbit in my eye and my jaw and crushed my esophagus. So it took me about 2 or 3 years, and I was always, a little peanut of a kid, and always was sick. Always got pneumonia every year, and pretty much, if you get your esophagus stuck, and I still have issues of all of those. And by what she did to this eye now sees in different frequencies, right? So that's why I can see people's auras, and my jaw. So I've read to you in the last few shows from what I'm writing, and when I, you know, in first grade, so I ended up in the hospital for about a year because of this, and my godfather was a cardinal, and so he kind of said, "Oops, I made a mistake by not watching out for you when you were in first grade." Because this nun, Sister Holy Roller Skate, um, she was this gigantic. She was a guy. You know, she was a tranny, but she was a guy. She was a guard in the death camps, and she was known as the milkmaid of death because she would torture people, especially men, and basically inject them with things that made their breasts get larger, and she would force their breasts to give milk until they couldn't take it anymore and they would die. And those people were basically biological experiments, and she escaped on the rat line, which was set up by the Catholic Church, by the Vatican, and that's how, through Operation Paperclip, we got 70,000 Nazis in our government, not just Werner von Braun, the good Nazi that put us on the moon, but um, the guys who set up the CIA, the Dulles brothers. Um, there was a German general that had a intelligence in Russia, and you have to realize that Germany went in and destroyed Russia. I mean, just killed 60 million Russians, and destroyed every large city they had and their transportation systems and everything. And Russia was made of serfs, so it basically put them back and serfed them. And so right after World War II, Russia was not, 1947 when we declared a Cold War. When Winston Churchill gave that speech, there was no, you know, and in reality, the Cold War started with the Russian Revolution of 1917. Even though Marx and Engels, Marx and Engels, Lenin and Trotsky were in a Canadian jail during World War One, and the English took them out of that and spirited them into Russia to ferment a revolution. because they realized that Russia would be, if it stayed, what the Tsar, and the Tsar was trying to change things for the better because he realized he couldn't keep it the way it was. And so, if, and that's what China did, once they were given, by Richard Nixon and Henry Kissinger, the ability to make money by, creating all the crap in our country and, shipping it to us. And that's how they built themselves into the second largest um, economy in the world. And the Chinese realized, they're smart people and they have a long history. And so they have a history of, like, back when England was just coming around, back in the, 900s, just when Europe was just kind of crawling out of the dark ages. And, back even before that, during the Roman Empire, um, China was an industrial scientific nation, just like Persia. Those were the two major powers in the world. And, you know, everything that we have that we consider well, we are entitled, we are, special. Everything we have, we got from those guys. And so it's, you know, and we're right at this. So China is not going to do what Russia did. They're not going to compete with us. I mean, they spend 1/16 um, of what America spends. You know, right now our Congress is whining about $2 trillion. Well, we put about $3 trillion every year into our military-industrial complex. You know, because it's not just the military-industrial complex, the military, media, education, banking, military-industrial complex. So everything revolves around that. That's the only thing we manufacture is weapons, right? And the only thing we do in giving aid to foreign countries is to give them weapons to prevent wars. Just before 9/11, there was no wars going on in the Middle East. Now the whole place is blown up, torn apart, and destroyed, right? And which will give us an easier access to resources. We don't even have to worry about it anymore. So we're moving on. And um, China, instead of competing with us militarily, um, they have this, uh, you know, abandoned road economic motif, and they're going around the world to the third world and building them an infrastructure that the European, the Anglo-American hegemony has not the IMF basically kills people.
Hey, I have to ask you if you're going to be on your
Uh-huh.
thing to either do it outside because it disturbs customers and I've got lots of complaints.
Okay, I can do that.
Okay, yeah.
At this moment, do I have to go outside?
Um, if you're going to be doing like live, yeah, because it disturbs everybody who's
Complained?
yeah.
Okay.
So, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's no problem.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, okay, so we're gonna go outside. Oh, what time is it? You know, I'm basically gonna say. So this is kind of what happens. You know, um, people don't want to hear this, and there's nobody in the store. But I have to go outside. Um, oh, should I pack up and leave, or just walk outside? Are there chairs outside? There's not even chairs outside. Anyway, such is life. Um, well, this is your Sensei L. Bob saying, I'll see you tomorrow, okay? And I'll have some pictures to show. And so remember the PayPal. Remember, if you want to contact me, it's uh, the dude awake 42 at Gmail. If you want to put anything on the PayPal, it's the dude awake 42 at Gmail. So I would truly love that. But so this is basically the dynamic of what we're doing, and basically that stuff in the sky, you're breathing it. Forget about getting the jab. Gonna kill you. It's what you're breathing. Anyway, okay. Mhm.